I think it's a nice complement to what you're working on in the Obama Foundation, because I feel like what you might be doing, and you can certainly illuminate this more, is at like a very micro level. Like, how do you get young people especially active and thinking very wholeheartedly about their communities, about their neighborhoods, like block by block? And so it's like then you like zoom super far in and you get what you're doing. So can you talk a little bit about how you're training citizens?
Right, and as they think about, and this goes back to what they care about deeply and passionately. A young man or woman who cares deeply and passionately about the environment has a natural home at Patagonia. Another young man or woman who has an interest in a different sphere or space has a different company or corporation or nonprofit or higher education institution. And so we always begin with young people. And I would urge, frankly, everybody in the room to, both in your public life, your business life, and your personal life, to have the same exercise. And so our first couple of hours of training, where you sit down with 18 to 24-year-olds, it's all about walking them through what we call the story of self. What is your personal narrative? And it can't be that kind of iconic view that we have in the morning, you know, either when we're shaving or just getting ready for work, and when we're in our hero mode, to the extent that there is one. It has to be your why, your true north. What do you deeply care about? And when we teach them that, and they sit across from someone, in this moment of, at its essence, which is amazing vulnerability, there is a strength and an empathy that flows from that. And when you can determine what it is that truly inspires you, either as an individual or as a company, the decisions that flow from that in terms of your responsibility are much easier. When an intern, the president, every quarter when we were in the White House, would meet with 200 White House interns, extraordinary group of young men and women. And inevitably, there was always a question at the end where someone would say, Mr. President, I am thinking about my career and what I'd like to do. And he would always say, focus less on the what that you want to do and really dig into the why. What is that thing that gives you such passion that you literally would pay someone to do it? And it's hard to find it, but once you find that true north, whether it's in your organizing or in your business capacity or in any, then all of a sudden the decisions flow from that because now you're anchored. And when the inevitable questions arise during the course of the day around what to do and what not to do and what path to take and which path to take, then there's a certain clarity in terms of how you're anchored, which is why the decision by the family within 10 minutes, why? Because it was completely consistent and aligned with what our true north was, right? And so for the people we're training, again, it's less you need to do X, Y, and Z. You first need to begin with what your sense of true mission is, because once you find that, then we'll give you some skills in terms of how to engage on a daily basis to move you from an activist to an organizer. Activism is essential and wonderful, but activism is, to use a metaphor, voltage. It's energy. A protest, a march, some form of manifestation, important. But organizing is the taking of that energy and directing it in a very strategic fashion against whatever you're trying to achieve. And people confuse the two, but there is a very important and necessary distinction between them, and that's the journey that we try to take them on.